Let's explore the symbolism signified by the moon in Gemini. And let's use the same system as we've been using for every planet and every sign, which is the system of harmonious and dissonant resonances. Now, if you don't know what the heck I mean by harmonious and dissonant resonances, just watch any of the previous planet and sign videos for a little bit more explanation, or just watch the rest of this video because it'll become self-evident. So first, let's have a look at the harmonious resonances that we find between the moon and Gemini. The first one that comes to mind, for me at least, is that they're both very flexible. Gemini signifies flexibility, and the moon is the most fluctuating, fluid, changeable planet. So the moon and Gemini resonate on this topic, and they resonate harmoniously. So expect a moon and Gemini person to be inventive. Their inner self is working in a flexible way. So they're thinking in new ways. They're adaptive. They can adapt to situations well, and they can adapt solutions to things. Also expect them to not be very rigid with the way they do things, or the way they think about things or feel about things. They're open-minded. They're willing to change their mind. They're willing to change their approach. You might even often find moon and Gemini people seem to have multiple personalities, or they can switch their personality drastically to suit the circumstance. And another ramification of both Gemini and the moon being good at flexibility is they're both good with movement. So you could also expect perhaps some talent in dance, but also they're good with moving around. So they could have positive experiences by literally, moving to a different city, moving to a different country, or doing a lot of travel. The next harmonious resonance between the moon and Gemini is the fact that Gemini signifies talent. And the moon, because it's all about change, it has to do with timing. And timing is a type of talent, type of rhythm. So with the moon and Gemini, you can easily expect some kind of talent, especially some kind of an artistic talent. Another harmonious resonance with the moon and Gemini is that Gemini has to do with commerce, because it's interactive and exchanging. And the moon, because it's the mind, it has to do with desires, and desires are the fuel for acquisition. So the moon is also a capitalist or acquisition-oriented planet. So Gemini being commerce-y and moon being capitalist-y, it goes well together. And the signification from that, it's a positive sign for wealth or good money, good financial status. And also, there's an interesting take on this whole thing, which I would describe as the ability to sell things. Moon and Gemini, they often have good financial skills that will manifest through their ability to convince people about things, or explain things to people, or sell things to people. Now let's have a look on the other side of the fence at some of the ways that the moon resonates dissonantly with Gemini. The first thing that comes to my mind is that Gemini is very communicative or social, connecty, and the moon is introspective. It's private and shy. So there's a clash here, a dissonance between the privacy of the moon or the shyness of the moon and the extroversion or communication orientation of Gemini. And what I expect often from a moon in Gemini is a bit of what I would call indiscretion, by which I specifically mean the person doesn't really have a good capacity to keep secrets. And another factor is at play here in how I interpret this. Moon in Gemini is drawn into social interaction because the moon has a nature of being domestic. Therefore, it also does like to form relationships. And Gemini has the characteristic of being social. So Moon in Gemini does have an irresistible pull to meet people or interact with people. However, the moon likes to make long-term relationships, whereas Gemini is more quick about it. And the the moon has private things that it's trying to protect, whereas Gemini doesn't. So the end result here is that people with the moon in Gemini tend to be drawn into social settings or relationships and then soon feel tired from it and drained from it or worried about it. And to end it, there's one more very important dissonance between the moon and Gemini. Gemini really signifies at the root intellect. It's not bookish by nature, but it's intellect, the ability to come up with solutions and connections. At the root of the moon is the fact that it's the mind. So you have the planet as the mind and the sign is the intellect, and you might think that that's harmonious resonance. But the mind functions with feelings and opinions and desires, whereas the intellect functions through rationality and steps to accomplishing goals. So the mind and the intellect tend to bump into each other a lot. And therefore, what I interpret for the moon in Gemini is a situation where emotions and intellect bump into each other often. A moon in Gemini person tries to rationalize their opinions, but they change their emotions and opinions quite quickly because they're so good at changing. And usually it's not really on the basis of rational things. So what I would say to try to express this in a short sentence about the moon in Gemini is that such people have their opinions easily swayed by their changing emotions. Well, that's the end of my explanation of the harmonious and dissonant resonances between the moon and Gemini and the kinds of interpretations that you can arrive at as a result. I'm showing you the backbone of how to interpret the moon in Gemini. To actually get a full picture of the full-fleshed individual, you have to also bear in mind where in Gemini the moon is, what else is in Gemini, where Mercury, the owner of Gemini, is, what kind of planets are aspecting the moon in Gemini, etc., etc., etc. I'm showing you the process for getting the basic foundation down of how to interpret the moon in Gemini. But I want you to remember that when you're looking at a specific chart or a specific person who has the moon in Gemini, there's a lot of other factors which are going to modify this basic foundation. Not come up with an entirely new foundation, but modify these themes. So hopefully that gives you a lot of clarity, not only about the moon in Gemini, but also about the basic process that astrology uses to interpret things. I hope you like it. I hope you smash the like button like it's a tomato. And see you soon for the moon in Cancer.